Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M,
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful for the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. As I walk on the stage, we talk about the walk-off.
Oh, nicely done.
Thank you, sir. Just thought of that in my OB-ism as I walked up here on the stage. OB, A&M, a much-needed, they're all needed at this point, a much-needed victory. Thank you to Caden Sorrell in the 10th inning and Blake Bendrup with a huge game as well.
Yes, and don't forget the catch that Yamal George made in left field that at least robbed the guy from maybe a double, leadoff double at least. Some clutch pitching when you needed it. A good team win.
It's one of those games that, like, the loser was going to be really upset. Obviously, they're all, but for A&M, you feel like you get a grand slam, you get good pitching, you feel like you're in control of it, and then mistake here, mistake there. It's a game, it's tied, and now you're like, we cannot lose this game. We cannot. And now the job is not easy, but easier. Win one of these next two to continue winning consecutive series.
Yeah. Keep winning. I personally think they need to sweep South Carolina, but hey, take any win you can get, and if you can win the series, which I completely expect them to do. I don't think Prager was sharp as we always grew accustomed to.
Yeah.
Started that way. Man, I thought he was going to cruise. He struck out the first two, and I think got a ground ball maybe for the third one, and then he ran into some trouble. Fortunately, the South Carolina pitcher, the starter, just couldn't find the plate, was throwing wild pitches, but I was concerned. I was concerned that first inning when the Aggies had the bases loaded with one out and couldn't move. Got a strikeout and then a ground out. But hey, all's well that ends well. Caden Sorrell's pretty good. Yeah,
he's pretty good. Remember when Bronny and Zane would come on the show and say, look, guys, you take out this much offensive power from your lineup, you're going to lose games. And some people didn't want to hear it. The reality is this team has some other issues that we did not expect. Part of those because of injuries, part of it because of a new regime. There's multiple reasons, right? But Caden Sorrell, 5 home runs in 8 games since returning.
Yeah.
He has made a huge, it has been understated the difference he's made.
Night and day.
Yeah.
When did he come back?
It would be 8 games ago.
8 games ago?
Yeah.
I know they've won at least 4 of those. So maybe
it was game 2 against Kentucky was his first game back.
So you got to give him a little time to get his footing.
Yep. And I think he hit a home run in his first game back.
I think his first at bat.
Yeah, his first at bat. He went yard.
Yeah. So man, he's playing great. He's made such a difference. Still wish when they could clump some hits together. When you get guys on base, at least find a way to move them around.
Yeah.
Make contact.
Also, Blake Bender up 5 RBIs. Had that grand slam.
I'm so happy for that kid. I mean, I don't know him, but I know he's been subject to a lot of criticism, rightly so.
Yep.
But to hit that grand slam and then a RBI double proved to be a huge play. So, 5 RBIs. What a great game for him, and I'm glad for him.
4 straight consecutive wins, 3 straight in the SEC against the top team in the SEC at the time, and
one of the bottom teams.
One of the bottom teams in the
SEC. Doesn't matter. Just win.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you're facing. Just go out there and win now.
On base streaks, you got Wyatt Hensler 16 straight, Jace Lavalette 14 straight, Bear Harrison 14 straight.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys being productive.
But and when we talk about Olsen magic, it's what you said along with the Cadence Durrell home run. Yamal George's, game-saving catch.
Yeah, that was big. Because you know this. People that know baseball know this. The leadoff batter gets on, the percentages that you'll score, of course, goes up significantly.
Yeah.
If the leadoff batter doesn't get on, the percentage that you won't score really dives.
Mm-hmm.
So that was important to get that leadoff guy. And when it was a tough catch, goes bouncing into the wall, bounces off of it. It was tremendous. Didn't Terrence Keel have another circus catch out in right field again?
Yeah.
Maybe not as dramatic as the one he had in Knoxville with the siren going off and the batter already into his home run trot.
Yeah.
But still very, very tremendous catch.
I love going into a Friday feeling much better about Aggie baseball. We've got some Aggie softball to unpack as well throughout the show. And also basketball, OB.
Basketball.
Jeremiah Green. He's going to stay committed at A&M.
All right.
Yeah. Saw that last night. I saw the tweet from A&M and from Luch. So we got ourselves two players.
Two players. More coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
4-star, can shoot, play some defense. Looking forward to...
can shoot?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Well, welcome with open arms.
Yeah.
Can shoot.
Come here. Can shoot a little bit, can play some D, 4-star. I'm sure we'll hear more from Luke Evangelos as more players. He's been all over the transfer portal post that we have on TexAgs.com on the premium board. But excited to get some basketball players. I hope, I might even bank on getting some more players by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, probably from some kind of eastern venue, or venue east of here.
Yep. Just continue.
Maybe 2 or 3 states over.
Keep adding players
Just
to
add
this.
players.
Hey, I wanted to bring this up because I saw this on CBS Sports, and there's CBS Sports has this column. These 8 hypothetical college football playoff brackets would make for sensational Final Fours. There's only one that involves A&M. Okay, there's a bunch that involve different scenarios, but this one, which I'm going to tell you today, has no chance of happening.
Okay,
I'm just going to read it out loud. Get your thoughts on it. It says, turning back our days to the Dave Campbell magazine, yada, yada, yada. 3 of the 4 major college football conferences have now played in the great state of Texas after SMU joined the ACC. A&M and Texas were both serious CFP contention heading into November. SMU earned a trip, and Baylor's a serious Big 12 contender, though TCU or Texas Tech will nipper their heels. A Final Four of Texas, SMU, Baylor, and A&M.
Man, I'd love it.
That'd be pretty cool.
I would love that.
That would be very cool.
Of course.
I'm going to say it's not going to happen.
No,
I'm going out on a limb.
Nah, Baylor, nah. SMU, nah.
Nah.
Texas, nah. A&M, maybe. No, that'd be great. That would be great. And just by our nature as a state, we would make the rest of the other inferior 49 hate us even more because we would be gloating.
I saw, by the way, this, while it's true, it really bugged me. I saw a post from a University of Houston fan that's, I think, on my Facebook that said, all these teams have made it to a championship game except Texas A&M in basketball and in football. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you pick those 2 sports? Because we could play the same game and say baseball.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be, in the last, I think it was 15 years, and your teams wouldn't be there either. Why are we picking 2 of the 3?
Because
if we did all 3, I think Texas would be the one that's out.
Well, Texas played for a football championship, and they played for baseball.
And in the last 15 years?
Oh, they said in the last 15 years.
Yeah. They haven't. And the Big 3.
Yeah, probably right.
Yeah.
All I know is last time I was in Omaha, I saw A&M eliminate Texas.
I saw that too, yeah. And I saw them eliminate them last year.
And Houston, I really, see, that's the thing. I was rooting for Houston the other night. We talked about that. And I always said, hey, Aggies, is that acceptable to root for Houston? And I think, people, and see, that's the thing that kind of makes Why you
I'm going to
question
pick
it?
2 out of the 3 sports just to fit my narrative. Ha ha, A&M, yada, yada, yada. Okay, well, we did just play for a championship, not even a year ago, and we're an inning away.
So, okay.
You don't get participation trophies, but if you're going to state that as a fact, then you got to add the other part, which is in the big 3 they have.
Well.
And I'm adding women's tennis to that.
And meat judging.
And equestrian.
Of course.
Yeah. And the dance team is at the national championships right now. So there you go.
Was women's basketball in the last 15 years?
Yeah.
Was it?
2011?
Was it 11?
Yeah,
okay. That would be the last 15 years.
Yeah. We'll give it to us.
So, and another one, track and field.
So there you go. Now, I've made it work for us. Anyway, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it.
Won a national championship in golf once. I can't remember how long ago that was.
It's been a minute.
Okay.
If you want to call us up, you can do it. 979-693-1150. We'll pick it up on the Buppies Catering hotline. This is not the Home Improvement Show. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio during the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. And we are now sitting on a stage in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. What do they do?
A lot of cool stuff, because they're going to help you with your money.
Yeah.
And having money's cool because
Yeah.
you can do cool things with it. So among the big 3 for holistic planning, they're going to help you with your investments. So if you want to make investments, somebody manage a portfolio, holistic planning there. Your taxes, we're 4 days out.
Yep.
It may be a little bit too late, but in the future, the taxes, you need some help on your taxes, holistic planning. And hey, you get old like me, it's happening. Speaking of the future, it's inevitable. Sometime you're going to have to retire. So you want to plan your estate planning. They're going to help you with that. And what are some of the ways they can help you with your estate planning?
I'm going to tell you the one way that they should right now.
Okay,
invest in pro sports. They'll help you do that by going to investinprosports.com. OB makes it rain. I make it hail with my pennies. All right, let's go behind the glass and say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Hello.
Well, y'all briefly mentioned it, but I mean, my standout performer from last night was Weston Moss, man. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up a run, 4 hits, but struck out 8 and only walked 1. And again, that's like, what? That's 10 people face or 10 outs he needed to get, and he struck out 8 guys. So that's pretty crazy. He was really impressive. Again, coming in when, Ryan Brauninger probably didn't have his best stuff last night. So hopefully he gets back on track. But Weston was lights out.
Yeah, Chuck Connors was everywhere last night.
Chuck Connors.
Yeah.
Old school reference right there. Do you know who Chuck Connors is?
I don't.
Rifleman.
Oh, the rifleman. Of course. Yeah, the rifleman.
They should redo the
he
rifleman.
played professional baseball and he played in the NBA.
This is right. This is correct. I did actually know that. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Dreyer is joining us this morning. Callie, hello.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Good.
What's
How are
going
you?
on? I'm okay, thank you.
Be careful because some ball might hit her.
What?
Every time she goes out.
I heard something about this. What happened?
She got hit with
I knew that.
a foul ball.
But I heard something at practice.
And then yesterday got hit with a football.
Did you get hit
It
by
just bounced on the ground and
hit
up.
you?
Did it startle you?
No.
Oh.
Did you catch it?
No.
Did you touch it?
No.
Okay.
So make sure there's no spheroids that can be going projectile in her direction today.
Okay, so
You just did the look and the breath. Did you see it, Nick? She goes,
Oh, believe me, she did something like super judgmental to me yesterday back here. We won't get into it, but yeah, she's got an attitude problem.
I did.
what? Callie, I'm going to do what you just did. All right, put the camera on me. Right. That's what you did. Continue, please.
Okay. Hate on Kaylee Day.
Hey, you know what, though? I respect that last night. She told me she was watching the baseball game on her phone while she was at dance practice.
You're a real fan. And a real journalist. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the number 3 Texas A&M softball team carries a 9-game winning streak into their tough SEC series against number 6 LSU beginning tonight at Davis Diamond. This is Texas A&M's highest national ranking since 2008, and the Aggies have the number 1 RPI in the country, while their 15 wins against top 50 RPI teams rank 3rd most nationally.
Wonder how high they got in 2008, I wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect you to know. No. Don't worry.
I can look it up.
No, don't worry. I know they won the national championship one year. I just don't know when it was.
What else do you have
might
for
have
us?
been way before that.
And then looking at women's tennis, as we're talking about, the Aggies have 5 players in the ITA college rankings. Mary Stoyana at number 2, followed by Nicole Kieran at number 14, Luciana Perez at number 55, Mia Kupres at number 68, and Daria at number 90.
We had Coach Weaver in studio yesterday. Always a great conversation. Yeah. He's awesome. And, hey, he's the national champion. One more for us, please.
And then also volleyball, they announced their exciting schedule of challenging SEC games for the 2025 season. And Coach Jamie Morrison said the SEC is going to be one of, if not the toughest volleyball conferences in the country next year.
Don't we say that about almost every sport for
Buddy,
the SEC?
You can copy and paste every interview I do with a coach. At some point, I'm going to be like, hey, you got a really tough schedule coming up.
But it's all true.
It's all true.
I mean, last year when A&M won, was it last year when A&M won the women's tennis national championship?
Yeah.
Beat Georgia.
Yep.
To get it. And, track and field, it's almost always somebody from the SEC.
Well, Coach Henry has told me on this show that the SEC tournament is harder, the SEC championships are harder than the actual NCAA championship.
Yeah, so, basketball was amazing. Baseball's always amazing. Softball. It's just football. It's just what it is. It's life in the league you chose.
I'm going to make a statement, and then I want you to respond to what I'm talking about.
So it's kind of word association.
Yeah, but it's not going to be it's not going to be what you're expecting. Okay? It's not bad. It's actually really good, but it's not usually how I go into it.
Should I be laying on a couch to do this?
No. I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
Veteran-owned and family-operated Pitmasters. Now I piqued your interest, right?
Yeah.
Brad and Brandon. Okay, another clue. Prime meats to perfection.
Oh, prime meats.
Mama Belinda with craft, mouth-watering sides and dishes and desserts.
Could it be like queso mac and cheese even?
It could be. Dedication to earn them a spot in Texas Monthly's top 100 barbecue joints.
And you could only be talking about $17.75.
It's not just a restaurant, OB.
Oh, it's an experience.
It's bringing families of generations together for Texas barbecue traditions on your table.
And it's open today.
Right now.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
maybe not right now, but soon to be.
But there are online ordering.
You can be ordering right now. Yeah. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of succulent brisket and jalapeno cheese sausage and, of course, pork ribs and even the turkey and, of course, queso mac and cheese. I'm a big fan. I'm a 1775 groupie.
I would legit go in a hot tub of that queso mac and cheese. Lay in it, eat in it.
What would you eat?
The queso mac and cheese.
Okay.
Okay.
You got to eat your way out of the hot tub.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that I've had the visual, I think I'm out. I'm not going to do it anymore. 979-492-6241, 1775txbbq.com. It's 1775.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. It's time to bank on it, OB. Bank on it, presented by Vera Bank. Authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. You can learn more at verabank.com. What do you want to bank on, Olin?
Well, we talked about him earlier, Caden Sorrell. Man, you almost bank on him to have a big hit or two the rest of the weekend. You know what? I'm just going to bank on this baseball team. They won a tough game that I don't know that they would have won, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So they're showing some more spirit and fight than I've seen all year. So I'm going to bank on them to win their next two games and win and sweep this. I'm banking on a series sweep against the Gamecocks. Banking on it.
I hope you're right. I really do.
I do too.
All right, so I'll second that. I don't know about the sweep, but I'll second the winning of the series.
Okay.
I really hope it's a sweep. I hope that yesterday demoralizes South Carolina and that A&M is they just dominate. They don't find a way. They dominate. But I'm going to go with what I said earlier. I'm banking on got ourselves a little bit of a roster on basketball by the end of the weekend. Okay. Maybe
enough to have a starting five.
Yeah, you won't have any rest, right? But maybe 5. I'm going to go.
Well, if they needed it, they could get Nick. I understand he's, can
Nick
score.
Savage?
Yeah, he can score in an SEC game.
Yes, this is true. He did say that once. He could score 3 in an SEC game.
Yeah.
Against guys that are 6'6". Yeah, he would do. He could do it.
From the logo, bang.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But that being said, yeah, I think they'll have enough to suit up for a game.
Okay, that'd be good. That'd be positive.
I don't have insider information on that. That's just me reading the tea leaves and just thinking, all right, it's because they're going to start having people visit. The wave of yeses coming. The wave of yeses.
The wave of yeses. I like that. The wave of yeses.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the wave of yeses. I do. I like that.
That's what I think. Do you think? How much have you been paying? We're going to have to talk NIL here in a minute.
Wait. Let's just throw this out, though.
Do you think? Yeah.
I'm always expecting, I'm banking on that softball team
softball.
To win the series against LSU.
Yeah. One of my favorite heroes.
There's banks coming out all over the town. Everywhere you go, there's a new bank. So I'm banking on everything.
Yeah. Trisha is one of my favorite people to talk. My job is cool because I get to know all the coaches. Trisha's awesome.
She's fun.
The thing that I really like about her is she's fun and she's intense. I like that combination, right? When you can be both. I'm not fun. I'm no fun Nuño. She's fun and intense.
No fun Nuño.
That's what Billy called me.
Is that what Billy called?
He's called me that a few times. NFN. No fun Nuño.
I haven't heard that one.
My idea of fun
is eating broccoli and telling people how to lift their weights.
No, my idea of fun, I'm going to be for real. My idea of fun is the kids and I and my wife watching.
You got 4 kids. I think I know what your idea of fun is.
Yeah, this is true. We've been married 20 plus years, buddy. Anyway, what are you laughing at?
I'm going to sound like Carter over here about to fall over laughing.
No, what I like is a Netflix and chill kind of evening with my family, right? Watching a Netflix show or Disney Plus used to be cool. But yeah, that's what I like to do.
Okay.
That's to me an enjoyable, that's fun. Going to the gym, fun. Playing basketball, fun.
Okay.
Getting a black eye, not fun. But wear it with, like a badge of honor.
Yeah. Huh.
How much have you been paying attention to the house settlement stuff?
Not much.
I'm trying to, but I feel like you have to be Matthew Dawson to understand a lot of the stuff that's happening. I mean, I understand the tea leaves, right?
I want it to just be over. I have to admit, I'm using the old Steve McGee line. Don't tell me about the labor, just show me the baby.
Yep.
And I just want to see what the result is of this and then come to an opinion.
I'm going to just give you guys some headlines of it because we're going to talk to Mitt Winter, who is an...
Kaylee's laughing at me for some reason over there.
What are you laughing at, bro?
Nothing.
Hey, when did it become cool for girls to say bro?
Never.
No, my daughters say bro all the time and their friends. And I don't know if it's a middle school thing or do girls your age say bro?
Not particularly. Sometimes.
Okay, sometimes.
When when you're a 5 foot tall mom at the bank, someone comes in to talk about their investments, does she go, okay, bro, let's talk about your investments?
No.
I don't think guys do that either. Just to be honest with you.
Maybe they do it holistic planning. I don't know.
They'll talk to you. They absolutely
They'll
will.
say, bro, you want to invest in pro sports?
Bro. Next time I have
invest in pro sports.
Next time I have a leadership meeting with Brandon and Josh, I'm going to bro them. Bro. Anyway, so what the settlement could include or should include, $2.77 billion in back pay for athletes from 2016 to 2024.
Man, if I played in 2015, I'd be pissed.
Right? $20.5 million annual cap per school, direct athlete revenue sharing beginning July of this year. Okay.
All right, say that again. I was distracted.
$20.5 million annual cap per school for direct athlete revenue sharing beginning this July.
Okay.
Unlimited scholarships, but new roster size limits. For example, football 105.
Okay.
All right. Judge Claudia Wilkin has delayed the final approval, pending tweaks on the two main issues: whether athletes can be grandfathered in to avoid losing spots under the roster limits, which I think a lot of these coaches, and we've had some in studio, like that is, and Coach Elko talked about it, like that is a worry. How many, athletes am I going to have to cut come August 1st? Like it's a scary part. Some other questions on here are whether future athletes should be bound by the current class action of terms. But the roster limits are the biggest controversy right now. And you saw the Nico stuff happening. I don't know if you saw that. Nico is trying to renegotiate his NIL deal, and the portal opens up next week, and people are starting to get a little scared at Tennessee. He wants more money. He signed a good deal when he first got there. Now the market has changed a little bit. So nobody is saying he's going to leave, but I think that's what they're scared about.
I don't know. Based on what I've seen, I'd be scared that he's staying.
You've never been really super high on him.
I think he's an average college quarterback. Maybe if I see him all the time, I would think differently. I think, okay, he's a slightly above average.
Were they 9-3 last year, or 10-2?
I would have to go back. I got to admit, I wasn't.
Were they 9-3 or 10-2 when it comes to Tennessee? They were pretty good last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
They had a hell of a running back.
They did, and a great defense. Right. But he did struggle in some of the big games, no doubt. 10-3. Thank you very much. 10-3. Anyway, we'll talk about some of these storylines with Nico, with NIL, with Mitt Winter on the other side. So we'll do that right now.
To me, that would be like, just from what I've seen. Again, I'm not on Tennessee all the time. If he has a $1 million deal right now and he wants to turn into $8 million or something like that, that would be the college football equivalent to going all in and overpaying Dak Prescott.
McGee yesterday said we need to see trades.
Trades in college.
Yeah. I think he said it like that.
Don't we? Just not.
I would just like to see, I don't know if 1-for-1, but if a guy leaves for another school, some kind of compensation / something. I don't know what that is. I'm not smart enough to figure out, but something to help out that school, especially the smaller schools that develop these guys and then leave for the bigger green. Like your favorite sport, soccer, the fourth best sport in the United States, according to some fake ratings I made up. Like there, when a guy leaves a smaller club, they get compensated for it.
Yeah. Be interesting to see how they come up with it, because it's not all, these different conferences that do different things. Yeah. But okay, move on to your ad.
Let's get all these university presidents, and I'm going to find a way to work you into a spot that you don't usually talk on. And let's say Judge Wilkins, let's get them all together and they go, hey guys, I want you to kind of zen out and figure out what the next steps are, but outdoors at a place that has songbirds. They make certain kind of noise. Thank you. They have rabbits. Hop, hop, hop. They have turtles.
Like in Maryland.
Yeah. Yeah. They do that.
Have terrapins.
And they have white-tailed deer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you can go climbing trees.
Yeah.
Okay. You can go fishing.
Yeah.
Hiking. Yeah. Rucking if you want.
What?
All to zen out and come up with a resolution for NIL and for this House settlement. You think it would get done at Milliken Reserve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look at you. Look how relaxed you are.
I am.
Yeah. All because I started bringing up Milliken Reserve.
Songbirds and turtles.
Yeah.
And rabbits.
See what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. MillikenReserve.com. See what happens to you. I want you to record a video and send it to us. MillikenReserve.com. OB, the Troubadour Festival returns to Aggie Park Saturday, May 17th, the ultimate Texas barbecue and country music experience.
Can't wait.
Yeah, sample smokes, meats from 30 of the best barbecue joints in Texas. Awesome music lineup with Shane Smith and the Saints, love them, Randy Rogers and Wade Bowen on their Hold My Beer and Watch This tour. 49 Winchester, Josh Malloy, Hudson Westbrook, and more. Tickets are now on sale at troubadourfestival.com.
I went last year, and if I
blast.
can help it, I'll never miss it again. Or I'll never miss it.
Yeah, I'd like to go. I'd like to go this year. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Our next guest was named to the 70 most impactful people on the NIL scene. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Mitt Winter joining us, a college athletics attorney at Kenny Hertz and Perry LLC. Mitt, how you doing, bud?
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Our CEO, Brandon Jones, first put me on to you and your tweets, how you break everything down. So really appreciate you joining us here. Talk to me how things have really, we don't have any answers, but we have a lot of questions, and we're supposed to have answers right now. Just kind of talk to me about the landscape of the House settlement, everything that's happening, and the delays.
Yeah. So obviously the House settlement is in the process of being approved because it's a class action settlement. It has to be approved by the judge before its terms can actually go into effect. So the parties, the NCAA, the conferences, and the plaintiff athletes in the case, they've agreed to the settlement agreement terms a long time ago. Then there's this long process that has to happen before the settlement can actually be implemented. And we're at the very last stage of that right now. On Monday was what's known as the final fairness hearing for approval of the House settlement. And I think some people thought the judge may, at that hearing, go ahead and actually say, okay, I approve this settlement. I didn't think so, and a lot of legal observers didn't think she was going to do that either. And she made it clear at the beginning of the hearing that she was not going to approve it at the hearing. So she had a lot of questions for both sides, the attorneys, a few issues that she pointed out that she kind of wanted the parties to go back and talk a little bit about more. So they have the attorneys have a week to get back to her on a couple issues. One, you guys probably know a big part of the House settlement is new roster limits that are going to be put in place. And so the judge asked them to go back and consider phasing those in over time as opposed to putting them in for this coming season. And then she also had some issues with the binding of future college athletes to the settlement terms, because the way the settlement's written, it does that for a 10-year period for people that are in high school or middle school right now. So she had some issues with that. And then she also, it wasn't as big of a focus, but there are these new rules coming out about deals with collectives and boosters, and they have to go through this fair market value process before athletes will be able to do them. And she has some questions about that too. So long story short, we're getting closer to the end, but we're not at the end of the House settlement yet. I think the judge wants to approve the settlement, but she wants to see the parties tweak a few things in the settlement before she will actually grant that final approval.
Olin Buchanan here. Okay, I'm sure you answered part of this, what I'm about to ask you already, but you said you did not expect the judge that would just go ahead and rubber stamp what the two parties had agreed to. What specifically were the reasons you thought that she wouldn't, and why?
There were a lot of objections filed. So as part of this process, there's this month-long period where people who are class members in the case, so future and current college athletes, have a chance to object to the settlement terms. And there were a fair number of objections filed to the settlement during that time period. So I thought some of those might sway her and make her go to the parties, which she did, and say, hey, we have all these objections. Let's address some of these things that were brought up in these objections. And also just generally the way these things work. At this hearing, she heard from a lot of people. She heard from NCAA attorneys, she heard from conference attorneys, the plaintiff's attorneys, and then all these objectors got a chance to speak as well. And in a situation like that, a judge is usually going to take all that information into consideration and put out a written order, especially for something as important as this. So in a case like this, usually a judge will take that information and take, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is to put together that written order. So that's just what I expected from that process.
Mitt, help me understand this, because we had Bucky McMillan, the new A&M basketball coach, on the show earlier this week, and he kind of talked about trying to get a roster together this particular cycle late into the game with everybody trying to sign their NIL deals early. So there's a lot of that traction that was happening late last year is happening, happened before. Will those deals in the future count? Like I'm trying to, and maybe you kind of partially explained that, but stuff that is signed now, if things change, will those contracts go away? Will they be altered? Will they be grandfathered in?
Yeah, so right now, there's a lot of front loading happening with collective deals because the NCAA has said any deal that's entered into before the settlement is approved and does not include payments after July 1 will not have to go through this new fair market value analysis process that collective and booster deals are going to have to go through. So right now, you really just have a free pass to pay guys as much as you want without having to worry about someone looking at it and say, oh, that's not within fair market value. So everyone's rushing to get these deals signed, especially with the basketball portal being open right now, to get these big deals signed with collectives before the settlement's approved and that pay a lot of money before July 1. So those deals, from everything I've heard from schools and people that are intimately involved in everything going on, they're not going to go back and touch those deals. So it's kind of, like a free pass on those deals. A lot of schools are also sending out either term sheets or memorandums of understanding, or even sometimes just a full contract that would start July 1 and go through whatever time period that is, a year into the basketball season, into the football season, whatever it might be, depending on the sport. So that's kind of how things are working now. There's often that collective deal that pays you X payments in July 30, and then a school deal that will kick in on July 1.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping you can clarify something for me that I just don't understand about the whole situation, or I'm not clear on. All right, so the schools are going to have what, $22 million or something like that, some figure like that, to distribute among players, right?
Yep.
But they still have it. Can't they still make money on their own through NIL if that's not paid for by the school, right? And then doesn't that just take us back into, you can have somebody that's, quote, cheating is still the highest, the highest bidder type of thing, right?
Yeah, so they've tried to address that in the House settlement. So as you referenced, there's going to be basically a salary cap on the amount of money that a school can pay its athletes. That's going to be for the first year, $20.5 million per school. And that's the amount a school can pay to all of its athletes, not just the football team, which there are some schools in the past year that already, they paid their football team around $20 million. So if you're talking about a cap of $20.5 million for all the school's athletes, obviously there's probably going to be some money coming in from other sources to some athletes. But to try and prevent that from happening and prevent the types of collective deals that we've seen the last 3.5 years, as I kind of referenced earlier, the settlement has a process that's envisioned where any deal that an athlete enters into with a collective or a booster, what they refer to as associated entities or individuals in a settlement agreement, will have to go to this new clearinghouse where Deloitte has been hired to review all of those deals to see if they're within, quote, fair market value for the services being provided by the specific athlete. So that's how they're trying to get rid of, these side deals that are basically just an addition to your school payment for going to your school and playing football or basketball, whatever it is. It remains to be seen whether that process is going to work, whether there will be lawsuits around that. I personally think there will be some lawsuits around that because you have some third party just saying you're worth this when there's someone who wants to pay you more than that. Maybe so how are they going to say your market value is not this when someone's trying to pay you that? So remains to be seen how that's all going to work. But that's kind of the process that's envisioned in the House settlement.
Man, let's close out with this. I want you to look into the future. Do you see at some point guardrails on the transfer portal, or maybe some kind of compensation package for when a student athlete leaves and goes somewhere else?
I think at some point there will be some restrictions on the transfer portal. Just a question of when and how we get there. The NCAA and the conferences, they want to get there by having Congress pass a law that gives them an antitrust exemption. The reason we don't have any transfer restrictions right now is because the NCAA lost an antitrust lawsuit a year and a half ago, brought by an athlete that basically wiped out all the transfer rules and said rules that say athletes have to sit out when they transfer violate antitrust law. So now you can just transfer every year. So there's really two ways you could have those types of rules. One is if Congress provides an antitrust exemption, or two, you could have some sort of process where the rules are agreed to between whether it's the NCAA or a conference and the athletes. To have true collective bargaining like that, the athletes need to be employees. That's one option. There's also some movement to have a process where the athletes would not be employees, but they would still be able to basically collectively bargain, but that would require another law to be passed as well. So I think at some point we'll get to one of those scenarios to have some more rules around transferring. But I don't think it's anything that's going to happen like this year.
Mick, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making some time. We'll talk to you again at some point.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
talking to you.
Mick Winter on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with a short one on the other side. Right now, Heritage Films, I want to tell you about them because they're storytellers. Chance McClain's the founder of the company, a guy that I've known for over 20 years. He's fantastic, not just a filmmaker, he's a storyteller. And he's done so many cool events in his career, from Broadway musicals to red carpet events. He has started radio stations. He's captured family stories for the last few years, and he does it with an Aggie twist. He's got a lot of Aggie clients because Aggies love to tell their story. He's got an incredible track record of telling your family's documentary in a meaningful family narrative style. He's not just using some handy cam. We're talking about a professional cinematic experience and equipment that's going to make you forget that they're even filming. It's a fantastic deal. It's a premium service that delivers an incredible lasting memory. If you want to preserve your family's story, check out yourheritagefilm.com at 713-893-8341. It's more than a business. It's a relationship to build trust and storytelling. It's Heritage Films. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. So I feel like I learned a little bit last segment with Winter. He was really good. And I still feel like I get it, but I have a hard time seeing them ironing out everything in time. So these coaches they have some anxiety about their rosters, but if they do phase that part out, I think that would help everyone.
I think it's inevitable that the athletes are at some point going to be employees.
Yeah.
And that way you can sign them to a contract maybe. I assume, I'm not an expert on this, but I assume you sign them to a contract 2 or 3 years, and that way you limit all this every year you move.
Yeah, there's a part of me that has empathy for the athletes wanting to move for the right reasons. And everybody's got their own reasons, right? If you're stuck behind a situation where you're never going to play, I have empathy. If you're just going for the top dollar, I should understand because we can do it. Like if somebody else offered you more money, you could take it. I understand the business side of it, but I also know what makes college sports and is it ever going to affect the high school ranks? You can just transfer. You know what? I'm going to go here. Just
Well, they do that. Bear Alexander?
Yeah, but there are certain rules to it too.
Allegedly.
Alleged rules. This is true.
Because it's funny how sometimes those rules apply for one case and not the other.
And A&M's been hit by it before.
You're trying to figure out what's the difference.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure it out, OB. I don't know if you are. I don't think anybody is right now.
They just make me King
Buchanan.
King Olin.
King Olin.
Then I said, this is how it's going to be. I'd be like, let me tell you how this is going to be. This is how it's going to be. Don't like it, don't play.
Sankey and all the commissioners get together and just the 5 families, a meeting of the minds. Get on the same page.
Yeah.
And then
they
could be sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah, Sankey. I wouldn't trust him. Snaky.
Now David Edmonds is going to send 39 responses on the YouTube page because that's how he starts.
I just was told that A&M was going to be the only team in Texas in the SEC. That's what I was told. From Mike Slive said, hey, we got an agreement, and then that agreement didn't matter.
When we come back, we're going to have Las Vegas Bronny.
Las Vegas Bronny.
He'll probably be in sunglasses and a tracksuit, and we'll have Callie Garner.
A Speedo over hanging around the pool.
Oh my God, I'm really going to throw up. It's TexAgs. Thanks, Obi. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. Brauninger will be joining us from Las Vegas, then the baseball bunch with 2/3 of them afterwards. But right now it's time for Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. And with that, we've got Callie Garner.
Good morning.
Good
Happy
morning.
Friday.
So rumor has it back in the day, you used to roll your eyes at your dance instructor.
Gym. Tumbling.
Gym or
tumbling.
gym?
Gym. Like gymnastics.
Oh, gym. Gotcha.
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm. You don't really roll your eyes anymore like others.
My mom might
Disagree.
debate that.
Okay.
But maybe not, maybe not as an adult.
What do we have going on in Around Aggieland?
We've got a lot. Another busy weekend in Aggieland. Starting us off with baseball, the Aggies took Game 1 of their series against South Carolina last night in walk-off fashion thanks to a 10th inning home run from Caden Sorrell. He is batting .400 since his return and has 5 home runs through 8 games. Also having a big performance last night was Weston Moss. He came out of the pen and was absolute nails. He had 8 strikeouts and just 1 run through 3.1 innings. The Aggies look to claim their second straight series tonight with first pitch set for 6 p.m. Staying over there with softball, the Aggies hold a number 3 national ranking as they welcome the number 6 LSU Tigers to town for the second top 10 matchup at Davis Diamond this season. They have an impressive 20-4 record in Aggieland and have outscored their opponents 177-67 while playing in front of the 12th man. The Aggies have won 9 straight and look to make it a double-digit win streak tonight with the first pitch also set for 6 p.m. On the basketball front, men's basketball head coach Bucky McMillan added TJ Cleveland to his coaching staff yesterday. He has a record for being a very strong recruiter and has spent some time in the SEC. He comes to Texas A&M from Wichita State. Also joining the Aggies roster next year is freshman Jeremiah Green, who reaffirmed his commitment to the maroon and white yesterday. With women's tennis, the Aggies have the chance to claim the SEC regular season title this weekend as they host number 21 South Carolina tonight and number 1 Georgia on Sunday. They currently hold a 66-match home win streak and are 21-2 overall on the season. There are 5 Aggies in the ITA collegiate rankings in singles and 1 doubles team, all in the top 100. And there's free general admission for all fans this weekend at the Mitchell Tennis Center. Lastly, the Texas A&M volleyball team announced their 2025 conference slate yesterday. They will face all 15 other SEC schools for the first time this season, and they open with two home matches against Missouri and Vanderbilt. The Cotton Holdings Lone Star Showdown is slated for Halloween night at Reed Arena, and they will only get 1 chance to claim that trophy this year as there's not a home-and-home series with the Texas Longhorns like last year. So,
thank you, Callie. Great stuff
Absolutely.
as always. Let's talk a little baseball. I know Callie had some of the baseball specifics. We'll go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. That's where we find Ryan Brauninger, who's on not assignment. What do we call it, Bronny?
I'm on my wife's work retreat.
Okay.
So I told you that yesterday, David.
I know, but this is a new audience. We recycle the audience. You know, they want to know.
I didn't know you had that many unique listeners.
Oh, actually, believe it or not, they're all unique. Trust me, they're all unique, Bronny. Hey, so let's talk about the fact that they've won 4 straight. Yesterday, the way they won. The last week, how they've won. Just kind of wrap it up in good vibes are good vibes, and I don't care how they do it. So far, over the last week, they're finding ways.
Yeah, and it's something that we didn't see this team do for the vast majority of the first month and a half of the season was win close games. And, it wasn't pretty at times last night. I didn't get to watch all of it, but was checking in as much as I could and then was able to catch up with some video late last night before we went to bed. And it was, it wasn't pretty. There were some things at A&M, some of the old nemesis for this team, some of the old nemesis kind of their heads crept up a little bit, but they were able to fight them off. And they got the big swing from Sorrell to hang on late. And it was, massive play by Jamal George in left field. And obviously Weston Moss, kind of leading into the Sorrell homer. But look, man, like you don't ask, they don't ask how, they just ask how many. And right now, going into the weekend, I can't remember if I was on a radio show, and it was just they were asking me, what do you need to see from A&M going forward? And I'm like, look, the brand of baseball doesn't even really matter anymore because they put themselves in such a hole that it all comes down to wins and losses. So, yeah, it wasn't pretty last night, but who cares? You won the game. And You go back to a couple of Fridays ago, and it was a similar outcome against Kentucky. Now, you cannot do for the remainder of the weekend what you did against the Wildcats, and it's going to be interesting because you burned up Weston Moss last night. He's unavailable for these next two games. Who in the bullpen gets these massive outs, and can A&M get better starts from Lampkin and Patton than they got in that weekend against Kentucky? Because this series is far from over, as we saw a couple of weekends ago. So, last night was awesome. I'm glad that's awesome for the kids. It's awesome for the staff. It's great for the 12th man, the fans that were in the ballpark. But today's a new day, and you got to go out there. Like, just think about if you're going into Saturday with a chance to sweep this series. What kind of just relief and kind of free flowing nature that the kids can play with. So I think tonight's a huge game.
Bronny, I remember people did not love when you would bring up injuries or playing a part in this situation. And I think two things can be true. The brand of baseball was struggling. There were some issues with the team. There are still issues with the team. But you can't discount the fact that two huge pops of your lineup are out of it. And since Caden Sorrell's been back, the offense has been better.
Yeah, and he looks like, we talked a lot in the offseason about how the scouting community was starting to talk about him as the best prospect / player on the team. And he's certainly shown that in, through 8 games on, essentially not fully healthy. Of course, that hamstring didn't look like it was bothering him too much, and that adrenaline hit him after that walk-off homer. So, maybe we're getting closer to seeing him play in the outfield, and what a massive boost that would be to this team. But, yeah, and the slugging, and that's one of the things that, with the injuries to Grahovic and the injuries to Sorrell, you were missing a massive amount of slug in your lineup. And what that does, David, is it papers over the cracks. Like, it rights wrongs. And we saw that last night. A&M didn't have a great night offensively, but they got a grand slam from Blake Benderup and a double from Blake Benderup and then a homer from Caden Sorrell. So, 3 extra base hits where they covered up the errors. They covered up a lot of the swing and miss. At one point, I think South Carolina had retired 10, 11 straight hitters. And we'd seen that happen this year with this A&M team where they just go through these long spells of not even getting anybody on base. And they were able to they withstood that. They had errors that we'd seen early in the year last night, and they withstood that because of the slugging was the great eraser. So yeah, I think people are starting to get an idea of what kind of run production this A&M team was missing without Gavin and Caden. Well,
let's stick with Blake Benderup for a second, Bronny, because he's been a guy who's had his rough struggles this year. He's had some struggles this year. Huge night for him last night. Just what does it mean for him and the fact that Coach Early has consistently gone back to him?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that we don't see the practices. We don't see the cage work, obviously. And this is 2 head coaches in a row now that have ran that guy out there on opening day as the starter at first base. There must be a reason for that. Now, it hasn't come together for him when the lights come on, and that's all that matters. But there's something that Blake has got that has given this coaching staff belief. And, to me, I went into this series going, okay, we know that Blake's going to have to play at first base because Cash isn't ready yet. What does success look like for that position? And to me, it was just getting to first base and being more competitive with the at-bats. And obviously, it manifests last night with there was a massive mechanical change. He went up there for his first plate appearance, and I saw his stance, and they have set him up like Giancarlo Stanton. He even mentioned that in the post-game interview. They closed his stance off, trying to kind of limit his lower body rotation, keep his chest over the plate a little bit longer. Maybe that helps him stay on the baseball with his eyes and track it better. It certainly paid off last night. So, that's a credit to the staff, obviously, Mike Early and Caleb Longley, for continuing to search for ways to find, mechanical switches and mechanical alterations so that a guy can be successful and just throwing everything they have at a problem. And then obviously for Blake to be receptive of it. And, it turns out well. That's one of the best things you can ask for as a hitting coach is that you ask a guy to try something new and immediately it works. So the belief that it's going to work is there right, immediately. So, it's a huge credit to Blake and to the staff for making that adjustment. But then, look, there's just not a better option. So he's going to keep going out there to play until Cash comes back. And I'm super happy for Blake. He has had a rough year. He's had some really poor at bats in some big moments. So to see him come up in on that stage in that moment and have success, I hope it sets him on the level that we've seen him in the fall in the preseason buildup just be one of the best hitters on the team. And so hopefully this can kind of be that launching point for that.
Ronnie, you mentioned earlier about Lampkin and Patton being better this weekend than they were against Kentucky. But what does South Carolina have left in the tank? Like, what do you know about their starting pitching situation and who hasn't pitched yet?
Well, the kid they're going to start today was outstanding in relief last weekend against Mississippi State. I watched that entire game, and it's 91 and 94 mile an hour left-hander with a big breaking ball. I mean, it's got a great shape to it, very north-south vertical on its tilt and on its movement, and it was causing problems for Mississippi State last weekend. So A&M's got a challenge on their hands today, especially those left-handed hitters. And I think obviously if you're making me pick which starter I would rather have today, it would be Justin Lampkin without question. But this kid for South Carolina was really good for them last weekend, and he was out of the bullpen, and they slid him into a starter's role. So that should tell you, one, about what the coaching staff thought about his performance, but two, kind of how in flux their starting rotation has been. And I think, unless I missed it, there's still TBA for tomorrow. So, A&M, they scored, 8 runs last night. They've continued to score runs at a really high level, but I actually thought last night they were not great offensively. Terrence Keel wasn't great. Jace wasn't great. Wyatt got on base, had a hit by pitch and hit a hard ground ball. But, when your top three in your order don't get a bunch of hits like we've seen them do over the last, 10 games, and you still win the ball game and you get production out of a guy like Ben Rupp who hadn't been productive, man, that's a real feather in the hat of your offense, and you feel good about it going forward because you just bet on the top 3, 4 in the order to get a bunch of hits for you. So, A&M's got to be feeling good going to the ballpark today, obviously with how last night ended, but going to the ballpark and going, Jace, TK, and Wyatt are not going to be that quiet again. Or at least you don't anticipate them being that quiet again. So if they can up their production over these next 2 games, you feel good about A&M winning the series.
Let's go back to Weston Moss for a minute. I don't know we probably won't be able to see him the rest of the way, but his emergence, his dependability, it wasn't predicted, but let me rephrase that. We're not surprised, but I think his role has been a bit surprising. Is that maybe, we knew the talent was there, but his emergence has been really needed at the right time.
Well, I think the surprising thing is, it's not surprising like you said, because he was really pushing for that third starter spot in the preseason, but we didn't know if his role was going to be, midweek starter or impact games on weekends out of the bullpen. And was it going to be long relief? Was it going to be closer? And he's really just settled into their, A1 option out of the bullpen, A+ option out of the bullpen. And I think you have to use him when you have a chance to win a game. And Mike Early has done that now in 3 consecutive weekends. He's brought Weston in and let him ride it all the way to the finish. And in those games, A&M has beaten Kentucky, Tennessee, and now South Carolina. So I love watching Weston pitch. Really high compete factor. He's an emotional guy on the mound, or it comes out. He's really competitive and fiery, and shows kind of some demonstrative body language, but not in a way that's going to show up the opposition. It's very focused and controlled kind of toward his team and toward his dugout. And I think Mike Early values that as well. And it's something different because a lot of those pitchers, especially the starting rotation, are such low heart rate guys that Weston, when he comes in, it just gives the game a little bit more juice. And he had to pitch through some adversity last night. I actually don't think he was as sharp last night as he was against Tennessee last week. But, man, he showed a lot of guts, a lot of moxie, and then, really kept A&M in the game. With South Carolina, all the momentum was with the Gamecocks late in the later innings, and Weston was able to stem the tide a little bit, got it to extra innings, gave him a clean 10th, and then obviously Sorrell walked it off.
Ronnie, has Coach Early's leadership or coaching kind of evolved this year in the last couple of weeks? What have you seen from him from just a leadership standpoint?
Well, I think it's, I think he's grown for sure, and he's understanding more of what the job entails and understanding how he himself is and his disposition are going to handle every scenario because, and we've talked about this a lot, David, there's no way that he could have foreseen any of this happening. We certainly didn't. And we're the analysts and we talk about the program and the team a lot. And I couldn't have ever imagined that they would be at this point, at this juncture in the season. And, I think there's no substitute for experience, and it's no different than a player. And I was actually listening to Tony Vitello post game last week after A&M beat Tennessee, and Tony was like, I screwed up so much in my first year as a head coach, but we just didn't have anybody around here that cared about Tennessee baseball back then. He said, Early's in a spot as a first year head coach where everybody cares about everything. He said, I got to do stuff. I got away with stuff because nobody cared. And I learned so much that first season. So, I think obviously with Mike, that's definitely, I think if you asked him right now, he would tell you unequivocally that he's learned so much about himself and his team and how to manage certain scenarios. And, there was a moment last night where he went to the mound, and I think he was going out there to take the ball from Ryan Prager. And when that guy looks you in the eye and says, I want one more hitter, it's really hard to turn him down. So he had a decision to make right there. And Prager had just struck out the two previous hitters. And he was at his pitch count, but he wanted one more. And obviously it didn't pay off. But that is a coach believing in his player. That's all that is. He went out there to take him out of the game. Mike Early doesn't make mound visits unless it is to remove a pitcher and bring in another one. So he went out there to take the ball from Prager. And Prager looked him right in his eye and said, I want another one. And you have to believe in your player in that moment. I don't think it was ideal. Had Mike Early known that Prager was going to push back and want one more, he probably wouldn't have gone out there to talk to him. But he did, and Prager, he wanted the ball again, and it ended up being a home run for South Carolina. But from a coaching perspective and understanding how those conversations go, I'm completely okay with Early leaving that guy in there because it's Ryan Prager and because of what he's done for the program. And how he's wired and how cerebral and smart he is. It didn't pay off, but he made an error in believing in his players, and I think he'll always be okay with that.
Ronnie, great stuff, man. Enjoy Vegas.
Thank you.
See ya. Ryan Brauninger. When we come back, we'll do the rest of the baseball bunch. 2/3 of the what do we call them? The baseball guys? Baseball 2/3? I don't know. When insurance matters most, who's going to answer your call? Not Ghostbusters, it's the Rollo Insurance Group. They are the best. You get a personal agent with a direct number, not a call center or an automated system. You get their number. My guy's Morgan. I call him up all the time. We just talk about sports sometimes. They are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Live, and they have been for a long, long time. The difference is real. 60 offices in the great state of Texas. And when it's home, auto, or business or ranch services, start a relationship with experts who put you first. Your agent becomes familiar with your specific situation, which is awesome. They provide a customized protection for the mass market. Insurers simply cannot match. When you need advice or have a claim, you'll speak directly with someone who knows you by name. That's the Rollo way. That's the Rollo difference. Visit rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs or call them up 888-44-ROLLO. It is Rollo Insurance. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza. And, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. 2/3 of the baseball bunch. Scott Clendenin, hello.
Howdy.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, this is a better Friday than we've had in the past.
Yeah, you wanted some hope last week. Guess what?
And people got mad at that.
Really?
Yeah. Richard Zane knows. He was all over the thread. I don't know if he read
Why
it.
would you get mad over wanting to be hopeful, wanting to be a glass half full after glass half empty?
I don't know if mad's the right word. Nuño, there's no more hope.
You're just next year, Nuño, and they need to understand that that's the bit. It's just who you are. It's not a bit. It's just who you are.
Well, actually, this year I feel like I've been very patient, Nuño, with the baseball team. Although it felt like it was crumbling, and there's still a very high mountain to go. 4 straight, Richard.
It's like a reclamation project, right? I mean, it was crumbling, and now they're trying to put the pieces back together. They've won 3 straight SEC games. Another thriller last night, thanks to the Olsen magic of Caden Sorrell in the 10th inning. And I don't want to get too far into this without overlooking Jamal George's fantastic catch to rob a home run to begin the top of the 9th inning. And then what a night for the hometown kid, Blake Binderup. 2 extra base hits, including a grand slam, 5 RBIs. Just a had-to-have-it moment for the Ags, and they got it. They got it, and now that magnifies today's game even more because as you keep building on this reclamation project towards the postseason, magnifies each and every game as the next biggest game on the schedule. So when they hand the ball to Justin Lampkin later tonight, it's the biggest start of the year, and the same will be said about Miles Patton on Saturday and so forth until they're either in the postseason or squarely out of it.
Scott, I want you to kind of take us through the roller coaster of emotions in the last 7 days, from the no-hitter to winning the series to the midweek win to last night. Kind of just take me through your journey seeing it as an analyst and somebody who roots for A&M.
Well, if you're a patient pundit, you might have been able to stay off the roller coaster. I don't know who that person is, but I don't know if I have seen an Aggie team get up off the carpet from very many run rules, mixing in a no-hitter and a run rule, that you end up taking a series from the number 1 team in the country. I mean, even at home, that would have been, the kind of performance that you just look back on and say, hey, this, for a team that's going well, you jump up and down and say, wow, look what they did going to Tennessee and getting the wins that way. I like the fact that they still had some, they had the opportunity to not do that, and Terrence Kill II made a play on that home run that you look at it and you go, there's a guy that went and made a play like Jamal George last night that encapsulates the emotion and the lift, and you see the dugouts explode, and they carry that excitement forward, and that right there is probably the play of the year right now.
And because about TK or Jamal?
TK.
Yeah.
TK.
Yes,
honestly, Jamal's play last night made up for the weirdest thing I've ever seen, which is Jace Laviolette having a ball go off his wrist for a home run.
Yeah.
That evened things out last night.
Yep.
So, it was an out in center field. It was a home run in left. You're even Steven on that right there.
Sure.
So it would have been, I don't think if things would have changed, other than the fact that South Carolina would have had a whole bunch of momentum going to the bottom of the inning. So I look at that play by TK against Tennessee and I say, there's a season-changing play. Not saving yet. It may morph into a season-saving play, but it was a season-changing play because that guy for Tennessee was going as good as anybody in the country after the game 1 against the Aggies, and he took it away from them, and they were not quite the same after that.
Richard, Olsen Magic last night, 2 different occurrences, right? The Jamal George play and the Caden Sorrell home run.
So much to write about after the game ended. Like, just so many moments. And I liked what Coach Michael Early said after the game is you never know when that moment's going to come, right? The first inning matters as much as the ninth inning, and it happened to be the 10th inning last night. So, I mean, Yamal with a great catch. He recovered from what looked like a slow start off the bat, got back just in time, leaped, brought it back, and then you had to watch Weston Moss pitch out of a jam later in the inning, right? He left the go-ahead run at third base later in the inning, a huge strikeout of Ethan Petrie for the second out, and then they eventually got out of that jam, kept it even Steven at 7-7. And then, man, that can't say enough about Caden Sorrell and what he's done to this lineup. 5 home runs and I believe 30 at-bats, 32 at-bats, something like
Batting
that.
400.
400 is his slugs over 1,000. It's pretty impressive, and that wasn't exactly a cheap backside homer either. That was a no-doubter off the bat. That was a missile.
And I think that Caden Sorrell, it makes it easy when you've been saying what's going to happen when this team is actually all put together. How are they going to be able to play? It makes it easy when it does come together, when you have Caden Sorrell, have this kind of thing. By his own account, in our post-game interview last night, it was like part of the reason why I didn't get back as early as I wanted is because I was pressing it. I was trying to get back, and it extended how long I was gone. He said that's one of the reasons why I've been so careful right now is I want to make sure that I don't do anything that backslides. That's not the quote, but that he wants to make sure that it doesn't reoccur. And then running the bases after the home run, that's the fastest we've seen him go on the baseball diamond since this whole thing happened.
You don't have to test that hamstring when you can jog, right?
Yeah, you could have walked.
You could have flown.
You could have put heel to toe the whole way around the bases if you wanted to. But he was excited for a reason.
Before we hit a break, you don't mess with a win streak, right?
I want to get Bronny's thoughts on this. What was it? 2 weeks ago, we did the baseball roundtable. Things weren't going well. I was sitting here. Scott was sitting there. Bronny was sitting there. We switched things up last week.
Bronny came in and said, "Hey, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. Scott, we're switching spots."
You don't F with the winning streak, right? That's what Crash Davis said in Bull Durham.
Exactly right.
But when you acknowledge what you changed, does it affect it at all?
Ask Blake Benderup. He acknowledged what he changed. He did. Mechanical adjustments last night. Says he's a little more offset, a little widened out as far as the stance go, and look what he's done in the last 2 games. 2-run double at Sam, 5 RBIs last night. Seems to be working for the College Station kid.
And he also would not say that this is only going to work against left-handers, because I was like, hey, were you excited to finally see a left-hander? There's going to be some left-handers. South Carolina starting one today. But he was like, no, it was, I am for this to continue. It doesn't just have to be against left-handers. And that's a great mental picture that he's carrying after the game last night.
When we come back, I want to continue talking about a masterful performance from last night, all right? And we'll put into that next. That was not a good segue. But
if you're green jackets, so we need those or what?
I bet you Olin has one. Olin seems like the kind of guy who would have a green jacket.
He's got a good wardrobe.
Yeah. Looking for a reason to come back to Aggieland, or if you are already in Aggieland looking for an opportunity to get a job, you need to reach out to the Association of Former Students. If you need a job, that's a great place to look. If you don't need a job, but you're looking to relocate, actually, you would need a job if you relocate here. If you want to live here, maybe you can look at them for some openings in fundraising, former student programs, marketing, communication, sales. They have a lot of different openings from time to time. You should check out the website to see that. They're the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving the A&M network. They play a part in every Aggie story from howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out with Aggie socials, Aggie Reading Day, class reunions, Aggie muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining the team, or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. A little TRT here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance. What's TRT?
Yeah.
Testosterone replacement therapy. Here on TexAgs Live. Sorry, you understood the
There's a
commentary.
young man over there on the side.
Yeah, not about anybody in here.
I thought it was a good bit. It was kind of funny little mention, reply in my mention, but then he doubled back on it and made it unfunny. But
well,
Luke Evangelist apparently left the game last night. I just found that out. That's super soft. So his reasoning was it was hot. Like, dude, last night was a beautiful night.
Beautiful night.
Sit out in shorts and t-shirt in the ballpark. Like, that was an amazing Thursday night. Olin didn't complain. Olin left early, but he didn't complain about.
But he left early because he's got to check into the facility by the time.
He's old and he's got to
Yeah, he's got to check in before.
He needs his 10 hours of beauty.
Basketball is an indoor sport.
That's true. Yeah, Luke.
Yeah.
Perfect response, Scott.
Anyway, for those who don't understand what we're talking about, I apologize, but you do understand the Masters are here, and we had a golden putter and a green jacket all make an appearance over the last few days. Richard, what do you think about how this group of Ags, right? This group of baseball players always finds kind of something, I don't know if a rally cry or just something to kind of make them unique in their own ways.
Look, it's only weird if it doesn't work, right? And they've been searching for something to rally around for the past month and a half, right? We first saw it when they decided to start shaving their heads. And we saw them get a little bit of a lift, but it was short-lived.
Yep.
Right? They went into the SEC, lost their first 6 conference games. Now, the Golden Putter made its first appearance against Kentucky. Now, they didn't win that series, but they had a lot more offensive outputs in the 2 losses. They scored 10 runs in a 10-11 loss, scored 5 in a 10-5 loss. And then they go on the road to Tennessee, and it really takes off, where the offense explodes in that Saturday doubleheader. Continued, the midweek against UIW, they scored 21 runs. A lot of that was a bunch of walks. I think the Cardinals walked 13 Aggies. And then they kept it going in Huntsville this past week. And then, of course, with it being Masters Thursday, the first round at Augusta, Georgia, big grand slam from Blake Benderup, and then Caden Sorrell home run, walk-off homer. It only felt right that they added a green jacket this weekend to the Golden Putter, considering everything that's going on in the golf world. And it plays right in the whole good thing, the Pringle thing, the whammy wagon, or was it whammy wagon, whatever the luggage cart was from the hotel when they went on the road at the end of the year. Like, they needed something to rally around. They found it, and hopefully it keeps working, right? They need it to keep working.
Scott, you're a historian. Other versions of Aggie baseball, can you remember kind of unique things, maybe not to...
I think it kind of took off in basically this generation.
Yeah.
Is when that, Olsen Magic was basically encompassing of that. But this generation of pro ball, and then it gets down to college, and then it goes to, high school ball as well. That this was their expression. And I think that to have the foresight to go Masters Week with the green jacket, now that was taking it to the next level. And, hey, we talked about a no-hitter last week. Some days the putter's not good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what guy it is. Putter's been good most of the time since then.
For me, every day the putter's bad, and the driver, and all of the clubs are bad. But as far as going back, the first thing I can remember an Aggie baseball team really latching onto would be the bubbles, and it's stuck around for about a decade now.
Yeah,
Corbin Martin get credit for starting that. I don't know exactly who had the bubble machine, but Whammy, that's where Whammy started, right? And that's taken on a life of its own in College Station. But yeah, it's fantastic. It was really cool to see the PGA Tour pick up on Aggie baseball.
Yeah, they tweeted it out
on Twitter. That was wild.
So let's talk pitching. 16 strikeouts yesterday. What did you guys see? And Scott, you start us off from Prager and then from Weston Moss and the rest of the crew.
Well, Prager stayed away from the home run that gave up more than one. And if you're going to give up some home runs, they've got to be solo shots. And that's what happened last night. Like I said, it's even Steven in my mind for them getting one to go out that shouldn't have been a home run and the Aggies pulling one back. But Weston Moss has continued to be a guy that has a strikeout pitch. And for him to bounce back after a 2-base error off his arm where he threw away a pickoff And to get those two guys in the lineup, to get Petrie and Hollins was a huge step. And, I think that what happens the rest of the way out, I understand trying to have answers in the bullpen. I listened to Bronny going on earlier about what are you going to do? Well, if you win a game where you only use two pitchers, normally that's setting you up for the weekend. The issue is Weston Moss has been such a big part of the weekend and getting wins, okay? He's got wins against Kentucky, Tennessee, and now South Carolina. So 3 of your 4 wins, he's been a guy that comes in and gets it. So that's where they need to replicate some of the stuff they did last week and carry that on into better starting pitching than against Kentucky, and then having the bullpen, which I think is starting to round into shape as well, have them go out and have some more success.
Ryan Prager showed signs of being the old Ryan Prager last night, particularly his first inning, and then I want to say his last 2 innings, until he probably stayed in one batter too late, although I don't mind Michael Early leaving him in. If your ace thinks he's got that guy, I'm completely okay with that. Obviously, he got snake bit by Hall at the top of the order there and gave up that 3rd solo shot. Struck out 8. He looked solid. It's just about the consistency with him, and if he can bounce back and being more consistency through his starts and then across starts, it's going to be a big lift for this A&M team. When it comes to Weston Moss, when he entered that game with 2 outs in the top of the 7th, everybody in the ballpark knew A&M was either going to win or lose that game with him on the mound. I think everyone knew it in the dugout. I think Weston Moss knew it on the mound. It was his game from the time he entered until Caden Sorrell hit the walk-off bomb. He had a little bit of misfortune. He was unlucky in the 8th. 3 singles, scored the game-tying run, equaled it 7-7. So he kind of blew the save, vultured a win from Ryan Prager. But the way he bounced back in the 9th, the tough spot after the error to keep the games, or to keep South Carolina scoreless in the 9th, and then the dominant 10th inning was super impressive. Now, moving forward this weekend, you have a fresh Caden Wilson, you've got a fresh Luke Jackson, and you've got a fresh Clayton Freshcorn. Those last 2 we saw pitch against Sam Houston on Tuesday night, kind of a reset outing against a pretty tough, pretty bad mid-major club this year. Hopefully that can inspire some confidence, because if A&M's going to get where they need to go, they're going to have to, or where they want to go, they're going to have to do it with more than one bullpen arm. It's going to have to be more than just Weston Moss out of the bullpen, and somebody else is going to have to emerge.
It turned out better for Justin Moore when he convinced Mark Johnson to leave him in against Oklahoma in 2002. Okay, that is the last time that I watched a coach that goes out to make a pitching change leave without taking the pitcher. Now, if you look at the back of the mound there, about halfway between the mound and the foul line, that's where J-Mo met Mark Johnson to say, I'm staying in against Oklahoma today. Not only did he not wait on the mound, he met him halfway on the grass because he wanted to stay in. And that was what Ryan Prager has earned that right to stay in. And then also, I think the Aggies knew with who was coming in out of the bullpen that we're still going to win this game. Now, A&M beat Oklahoma 5-4 that day. I think it went extra innings as well. So there is a little bit of similarity, as actually A&M scored 2 in the bottom of the 9th. Olsen Magic backed in to get the victory after J-Mo had left the game.
But was it the Thursday of the Masters, Scotty?
It was not the Thursday of the Masters. No. But it was in April. Let's see here. What day did I say it was in April? The 22nd? It might have been during the Masters.
Could have been.
All we know.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll sum it all up on the other side. You're listening to the TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Right now, we're talking about your ranch's potential with Bird Dog. They can make you some money, guys. They're revolutionizing ranch management with Honey Access. The Aggie-owned and operated company doesn't just connect hunters with premium honey experiences. They're now expanding their services to help landowners maximize their profits through specialized tax optimization. You can unlock hidden value in your property. Some of their clients earn an extra $100 to $500 per acre. You get expert navigation of agriculture exemptions, wildlife management, and tax benefits, personalized consulting to optimize your land's potential income. Connect with qualified hunters through your established booking platform. They're the place to go do it. Full service options for corporate outings and group adventures. Your ranch represents your legacy. Let Bird Dog help you maximize its potential while preserving the hunting tradition for future generations. The website, birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. Check it out. Baseball Bunch on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Ags at 4-9 in SEC play. The theoretical magic number, if you will, 13 wins. Scott, you believe that? 12 wins? What do you think?
I still go back to last week where, I look at the conference now, and you go to the SEC, and A&M is up in 12th place. Richard, how many people went to the tournament last year out of the SEC? 12? Okay, so A&M has already moved into 12th. Their RPI did this huge, miraculous increase from last week, winning 2 games on the road, when they have opportunities to do that after that. And I still don't know how many teams the new NCAA will look at the new SEC and say, this is how far we drop it down.
Yep.
I
think you said it perfectly last last week or 2 weeks ago. No one knows, right?
So don't make
pundits
any
who know
assumption
nothing.
that the cutoff number is this. And I said last week I did not expect a men's basketball team that won a third of their SEC games was going to go to the NCAA tournament, and it happened. So let's let this play out. Now, they've moved up. They put themselves in a position to be 56 in the RPI now. You still have opportunities for a big RPI boost at the number one team in the country. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Against Arkansas a week from now. But I think there's also a bunch of games in league that can affect how this is all going to work out. Arkansas, Georgia, Texas, and Kentucky. Is that going to affect Kentucky falling down? Florida is getting to play Missouri. They get a chance to win 3 games because Missouri is playing terrible baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that Missouri's on the A&M schedule at the end of the year. Maybe they'll still be playing the same way, and A&M will have a chance to get some wins that way. So I just look at this team and say all they can do is go out and play the 9 innings in front of them. If they can compartmentalize those 9 innings, then they're doing something a good baseball team does. And that's not look ahead. That's for everybody outside the program to look at and talk about, concentrate on this. Because if they had to use some pitcher today that compromised their ability to win the game tomorrow, they still need to go win the game today. Yep. Because this is the 9 innings that you know you're going to get to play.
Will there be 13, 14, 15? That's all for the pundits to talk about. It's tough math, and it's just speculation. For me, I'm still a proponent that they need to get back to 500 in the league just to feel comfortable, especially given what they didn't do versus the non-conference schedule. That's really tough math if you look at the schedule. Yeah. But as Scott said, and as I alluded to earlier, now that you keep winning, as you keep working on this reclamation project, every single game the next day becomes the biggest game of the year, and then the biggest game of the year, and so on and so forth as you continue to build. The only thing that matters right now is when Justin Lampkin steps on the mound at 6:02 p.m. this evening as the Aggies try to win their 5th SEC game.
Well, how important, Scott, and it sounds like to me it's about the right now, not ahead, is a sweep this weekend?
It would be huge because then you're taking back some of the games, the home sweep that you suffered at the hands of Alabama. You're getting one of those back. And that's huge. Now, 13, 14, 15, and 16 in this league this year, snapshot today, all right, all of them have more than 10 quad 1 losses, and A&M does not. And none of that group has as many quad 1 wins as A&M has. So you have a chance to separate yourself from the bottom of this league, and that's what the important part of this is. But just go out and play good baseball and you know, not let Kentucky happen to you again. I thought Braunie, when he spoke of it earlier.
Yeah, great insight, B.
Yeah, thanks, Braunie.
That he was right. You can't let Kentucky happen to you again. And that's the position they're in. Now, they also know Kentucky happened to them 2 weeks ago. They just did that to Tennessee last week. They know firsthand on both sides of that coin how important game 2 is in those series.
Got to drop it right there, Richard. Thank you.
Of course.
Scott, thank you. All right, when we come back, Billy Liucci. We'll do a whole hour with Luch, maybe even more. You never know. It's TexAgs Live. Welcome back, everybody. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 3 of the program. We'll probably get Billy on at some point during this hour. Let's check in with Nick Savage, though, because, Nick, we talked a lot of baseball that last segment. You've been kind of keeping your eyes on what's happening around the league as well. So give us a little around the SEC thoughts on we had 2 games yesterday and obviously several series this weekend to keep our eyes on.
So obviously A&M and South Carolina was one of the games yesterday. The other one that was going on was Florida and Missouri. Scott briefly mentioned that Florida whooped up on Missouri 11-2 in that one. Missouri still winless in SEC play, and that's looking more and more like, you could maybe bank on 3 wins when the Tigers come to Olsen Field at Bluebell Park in a couple weeks. So that's interesting to see. Other games kicking off, or other series kicking off today, I should say, and we can kind of talk through them, maybe what we prefer the outcome to be from an Aggie perspective. Really big one. Number 1, Arkansas traveling to Athens to face number 7, Georgia. I don't think that one really matters in terms of, standings wise, because those 2 teams are both going to be at the top. Missouri and Florida. Do we want Missouri to just keep on losing so we can kind of bank those wins?
I think I'd rather Florida lose, right, to not have them have enough. Because if Florida wins, let's say they sweep, they're right behind A&M or potentially ahead of A&M, right? So I think I would like to see Missouri get 1.
Yeah, we got Texas traveling to Lexington to face Kentucky. I wonder if another fight will almost break out because of the way Kentucky plays baseball. That'll be interesting to see. But
obviously, I don't care that Kentucky beat A&M and the whole thing. I want Kentucky to sweep.
Yep, I agree. Mississippi State travels to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. I think we want
Alabama's
Bama.
already beat you. They swept you. So Mississippi State's bad. Keep them bad.
Yeah, game 2, A&M and South Carolina tonight at 7 p.m.
I'm going for the Aggies.
Or sorry, 6 p.m. LSU traveling to number 11 Auburn.
You tell me. Auburn?
Yeah, I think so.
But Auburn is at 6-6, right? So right in that kind of that zone where A&M can get to. LSU's been so fantastic. They're not going to fall from grace. It looks like Billy Liucci's on the
Billy got tired of listening to me, so we'll go to him.
Yeah, let's go to the Buppies Catering Hotline and talk to Billy Liucci, the executive editor, co-owner of TexAgs. Billy, good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
How are you this morning, buddy?
Good.
I'm happy to hear that.
Pulling up to the office, coffee in hand, beautiful week of weather. Wonderful.
Well, let's talk about the wonderful walk-off last night. And just the good vibes they've gone 6 straight days, 4 straight wins, 3 of those in the SEC. Aggie baseball, hopefully they have turned a corner. I think we still need more evidence of that, but it's sure much better than where they were a week ago.
Well, 2 things they've turned the corner in, and it. Look, I listened to Brawny this morning and kind of watched the game, last night over there, feeling the same way. They clearly weren't hitting like they did in Knoxville. That's obvious, but I mean, you could also tell just there were a lot of guys that I would say, didn't have good nights at the plate, much less hitting like they did in Knoxville, but they still managed 8 runs in an SEC game and hit a couple bombs, including Sorrell's walk-off and Bindy's grand slam. So now it's like when it's not going great, you're scoring 8 runs and hitting a couple of home runs instead of the whole lineup struggling and scoring 3 runs against a non-Power 5, Power 4 program, a quote mid-major, as we call them in basketball. And that's where they were when they were struggling previous or getting no hit or, scoring 6-7 runs in a weekend and whatever it was against Bama. Now, when you go, man, some of the guys really struggle. Well, it's okay because other guys picked them up. So the things what we know is that this team has been hitting better now for a couple weeks, and obviously coincides with Caden Sorrell returning. It'd be nice, to see Kent get going, by the way, and that could be another boost here over the next couple weeks and hopefully this weekend. But Caden Sorrell coming back, I think really has been the catalyst. I think that goes without saying. And then, the other part of it is what we do know is that they are a very confident baseball team right now that's having fun. And those two things you could not say about this team. I'm not sure at any point prior to last Saturday. They just, even in games they won, they didn't look confident. It looked like a group waiting for the other shoe to drop. They certainly didn't look like they were having fun. You know, they were struggling mentally. It was very clear, and it was, a very disappointed clubhouse and baseball team. And that's not the way they've looked lately. Something has flipped, and I think the two go hand in hand. The better hitting, feeling better about yourself, more confident, also getting one of your star players back. All that stuff goes hand in hand. You wish it would have happened, a few weeks earlier, and this conversation would be a lot different. They still have a long, tough road ahead of them. I think the kind of baseball they played last night, long term, that's not going to get it done against those top 5 teams you still have left on the schedule. And I'm talking about the fielding errors, and you got to see Prager scrap through that one last night, but you want to see him find his form again, because you're going to have to really, you're going to have to snag one or two of these Friday night games, especially if you plan to win one of the series. So there are little things, not little, some big things where you're going, that last night, that's not going to get you there. But confidence in hitting will, because I think the starting pitching is going to be anywhere from fine to really good. And so if they hit and they're a confident baseball team having fun, that's their formula. I mean, I haven't heard anything along these lines, but I think it's almost like the whole team went out. It's like major league style. The whole team went out and just got hammered in those that do drink. In Knoxville, after getting no hit the other night or something, because it's been different ever since. And they're just like, man, the weight has been lifted. And by the way, they also did something last night that they don't do a lot of, and that's win, or hadn't done a lot of, and that's win a close game. I mean, there was moments there in the late innings where you're going, man, they let these guys hang around, and South Carolina is in a great position to steal it. But they couldn't because of Weston Moss, because of Yamal George making that catch, and obviously Sorrell's bomb to lead off or walk off the Gamecocks. So, but you were letting them hang around, and it kind of felt like, this is what we've seen a million times, and they got a guy to third base on a ridiculous, first to third advance, and you're going, that's exactly how you end up losing. And did they have a guy on third with one out there to take the lead, and you kept that from happening? Weston Moss with a couple Ks, and then he came out and was lights out the next inning. He was the MVP. Sorrell with the swing of the game, and Yamal with the catch of the game. Keel with another massive catch on a rocket out there to right. So I thought they're having fun again, and it's fun to watch. And I know there's a contingent of malcontent that want everyone to not enjoy things like that. Guess what? Texas A&M's, what are they now? 4-6? No, they're 4-9 in the SEC. I had fun last night watching them play. Sue me.
Billy, let's hit a break because I hear you're.
And I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm hopeful. I wouldn't say I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful, and there's reason to be hopeful for this baseball team right now.
There is reason to be hopeful. It's a 4-game win streak, 3 straight in the SEC. Billy, I hear you're in the parking lot. We'll hit a break, and we'll just do it on the other side. Sound good?
Hey, David.
Hey, Billy.
David Nuño. By the way,
yeah,
injuries do matter. They weren't an excuse for how poorly A&M was playing in the field. Guys in the lineup not coming close to what they'd done. Relief pitching, blowing leads. Like, that's not an excuse. This baseball team would have been and would be a hell of a lot better, as would their record right now, had they had Sorrell and Grahovic. And just seeing Sorrell back should tell you that. Like, no one's saying that they would be sitting at number one. No one's saying that's the only reason. People want to tear down anyone that talks logically about a situation and try to kind of explain it. It's not an excuse. It's you're in the process of explaining. It's an explanation. I can't explain the defensive regression. I can't explain, you can explain the bullpen issues, but what I can explain is how much it hurts to lose two first round type, second round picks out of your lineup and your closer. And that's especially true when you lose your two best relievers to graduation anyway. And then you lost Braden Montgomery. So last year's lineup had possibly 4 eventual first round picks out of 9. And you play the bulk of this season so far with 1 first round pick in the lineup. And so it does make a difference, just like it's making a difference when he's back. It doesn't explain a lot of what we saw. That was just a team that just was playing bad baseball around it. But, I mean, you certainly now see what having one of those bats in the lineup could do versus 2. But here's the deal. They're not getting Gavin back this year. He's done for the season. Now this is what you got. And you got to just figure out ways to win games like they did last night and like they did in Knoxville.
All right, Bill, let's get you in the studio. We'll talk to you here inside in a second. Goodbye to you, too. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Talk to you later. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. If you're a business owner, you need to take your operation to the next level. Make sure you reach out to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They've expanded their selection of commercial vehicles to meet all your needs. That's what they're really good at. From service body trucks to heavy duty trucks, to medium duty trucks, they can handle those tough jobs. They've got the muscle for your business demands, and they are now a newly designated business elite dealer. They understand what it takes to keep your company moving forward, and that's not all. Every commercial vehicle purchase comes with their legendary free oil changes for life because they believe in supporting local businesses just like they support Aggie athletics. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on a lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Mother Hey, no. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. He's Billy. I'm David. And get a little shout out to Lucchese. Class of 2025 can score 25% off with Texas A&M's 12th man boots at Lucchese Bootmaker in Century Square. Swing by their College Station location and grab your official Aggie boots today. Promotion is valid until August 31st. These are nice.
They match my hat. It's a Lucchese hat.
Yeah. Lucchese.
You know, you wear this hat around other places, and I used to have a different one. I don't know what happened to it, but people that don't know around, like outside of Texas, if they don't know Lucchese, they're like, "Oh man, I like that hat." They think it's a Liucci hat. And I'm like, "No, I'm not wearing a hat with my name on it." First of all, it smells wonderful in here.
It does. The leather smells great.
Go get a 25% discount on a pair of A&M boots, and you're a graduate. It's for graduates, right? Is that what you said?
2025 graduates.
You're graduating.
And talk show host.
Or you're a parent and you're going to buy something like 25% off of these bad boys.
Century Square.
I'm going to be wearing the hell out of them. I've got I think I have 3. This would be my 4th pair of Lucchese's.
Yeah.
I love them. And I wear them more than you think. You know, you wear them.
You do wear them, yeah.
Dressing up events. You wear them, obviously, when you go concerts and rodeo. But these are perfect. These are perfect.
So, excuse the. I probably shouldn't even ask this question because I do go to the meetings. If I want to show the A&M logo, you can't tuck your jeans into them, right? You just don't show the A&M logo?
Would I look like Joe Biden if I smelled the boot?
I just did it. I just legit did it.
I mean, I don't think you tuck your jeans in. No.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you might.
I mean, you do it with Jordans.
Yeah. Well, you don't. I don't think you do it with these. I'm looking to see what these are.
The Lucchese's.
I know. I'm looking to see what kind of leather. What the leather is.
I like the box too.
No, they're awesome. Yeah, and it's a great gift. It really is, and especially for a graduate. I mean, can you imagine getting a pair of these when you're graduating, you're about to go to work? Like, they're badass. And those girl ones right there, I could see any Aggie girl wearing them to a concert, to A&M football games. I mean,
actually see it on graduation day, going on the stage with them. That would be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You agree?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think it would be cool.
People, maybe so, with the gown.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah, why not?
And by the way, while you're there, buy like a hat. If you're a dad and you're buying these for your son or daughter, get you a wallet. I love my Lucchese wallet.
Yeah, I could use one.
Get you a wallet. I got for Christmas, somebody got me like a DOP kit. Lucchese, they got everything in there. Or you want a little simple gift for someone, Nuño. You want to go home and you got in trouble because
I get in trouble a lot.
Elizabeth was like, dude, you're playing around at the gym on the mats too often, and you've been gone, you were late coming home, you missed dinner, you bring a Lucchese candle.
Oh, she loves candles.
There you go. Well, some of theirs are really, really good. I think cactus, is there a cactus one or a citrus? But anyway, Lucchese candle, way to go.
Well, we always talk about going shopping together, which I don't know if dudes do.
Do we?
Do it.
Do we?
Yeah, actually we do. Yeah, we do. We've talked about Academy.
Did to 50 Cent.
Huh? To the club?
He's like, let me take you shopping. It was like,
no, not like you're going to be like.
We both have our resources, yeah.
Yeah, there's certain things that we could go at the same time. You go that aisle. We're not going to do the same aisle.
I still haven't used up my whole gift card.
So there you go. We got to do that. Anyway, thank you to Lucchese. Bucky McMillan.
What were you going to say about Academy?
We've been supposed to go to Academy.
So you said we go to Lucchese also.
Yeah, we do
a day of it.
Yeah, like the ladies do that. You guys go shopping multiple places, not to.
Well, and I love Century Square.
Yeah,
anyway, just the whole little setup. I love taking Aggies there for the first time that don't know it exists, that hadn't been here.
Yeah. Anywho, let's talk a little Bucky ball.
Movie.
I have not gone to a movie there yet. Just got awkwardly silent because
Seth and I are like the only two, feel like, adults that still go to the movies. We'll go sometimes on like a Friday, like say right after this, go over there, eat lunch, watch a movie.
Well,
it's been a while. I like doing that. We need to do that more.
Jeremiah Green staying committed to Texas A&M. That's a big deal, man. I know you know it.
Obviously, he's the top 120 guy in the country.
Yep.
It's a momentum thing too, and he'll have a special place being the guy that jumped in first with Bucky McMillan and company and said, "Hey, I'm staying. This is where I signed up for. I like the message they're selling. I like the style of play. I think it's going to fit me." I think he said, he believes he can develop. So I think that's a big one, and it's the start. They're going to have a lot of stuff. I think this is going to be a really busy weekend on the recruiting front for basketball, and we'll have a lot to talk about early next week in terms of what Bucky McMillan and his staff did. I'm going to pretend like I'm talking about these boots
so
while Callie's taking pictures, but we can still talk basketball while we do it. If you think about it, like this weekend, they're up against a timeline. So you see the visitors or the names of the guys from all over the country, including a guy I think they're particularly fired up about from North Alabama.
And he's averaged 17 points a game. He could score.
And you look more, those are stats against that competition, but it's still like you look at who's recruiting him. You look at the teams you're battling against. It's like Auburn, Florida. I think
LSU's on there.
LSU, OU maybe. But, there's real programs in the mix there. They're going to win some of these battles. There's an interesting thing going on right now, and I heard you guys talking about it this morning. In terms of college sports and NIL, right? And I think A&M's in an interesting place, myself personally. Like Texas A&M football, say for example, they're not a have-not. They are a have. They are not left wanting, but they want more. You always want more.
Yep.
Mike Elko said he's never lost a kid to NIL, to money. And he sat right here and said that. With that said, if he had $5 million more dollars, even if he wanted to go in a really weird direction, not weird, it's actually kind of common, but if he wanted to go in a direction and say, I'm going to pay two guys $2.5 million, and that doesn't really fit, that would, I think, blow out their infrastructure.
Yep.
But if he wanted to do that and say, hey, I need a big outside receiver that's a game changer, and I want I'm just saying, like a pass rusher or a left tackle, $5 million, and he said, I'm just going to get one of each and do two at 2.5 apiece, that could change his football team. Even though they're at a level that they're up there with anybody. But that's the gap, and maybe even a little more than some of these teams that you've seen in the playoffs, one that you see down the road. You see, and I think everybody is wondering, like, with 500,000 people, how are they not? Well, I think that, am I wrong? The 12th Man Foundation has like 20,000 active members. I could be wrong on that, but it's not as easy as to say there's 500,000 people if everybody gave $100 a year. Right. This is it's more about if you really know these programs, the Oregons, the Texas, the Texas Tech, who Stuart Mandel was talking a lot about this week because the basketball player comes back for $4 million. Toppin.
JT Toppin.
$4 million for Toppin. Like, that was a little slightly more, basically as much as A&M's entire basketball NIL was last season. I think they were around like 3.7.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy, and that's not their football guy paying. That's them committing to basketball. My concern is with a lot of these places that you see that are like up a level above A&M, and it's a significant jump, and even some below. Like a lot of these places, Tennessee's got this going. Haslam, is it Haslam maybe? They've got one giant donor that's almost acting as a team owner.
Mm-hmm.
That's not accurate. You would hope that they're not meddling and trying to make decisions, but they feel ownership.
Sure.
Because they committed so much, and it's like them and the field. And A&M doesn't have that yet, and I feel like there's a little bit of a, hey, let's wait and see. with A&M that's not at some of these other places where they're just tripping over themselves. So it's interesting, say, with basketball now, because you've got now they were properly motivated, and this is probably not the best example. I understand they're looking good lately. They were properly motivated when Slosh left, and it motivated the right people to say, hell no, we're going all in.
Right.
And they put together that roster. Now, like I said earlier, they also, part of that big expense was keeping Caden Sorrell from LSU and keeping Gavin Grahovic from Tennessee. And unfortunately, you've had those guys all of about 8 games this year combined. So that is part of why it looks like this. But they went all in that sport. And A&M is right there at the very top of the sport, in terms of how they were able to construct a roster. And it guarantees you nothing. And unfortunately, right now, A&M is an example of that. Hopefully, like we said, that's starting to change. They beat a really high-priced roster last weekend, 2 out of 3. So hopefully they're playing that level of ball, right? But it doesn't guarantee you anything. So we are like kind of the lesson there. The class of 22 was not the lesson. Everyone thinks the class of 22, Nuño, was the lesson in that money can't buy you success and victories. That was not true. That was a lie. That was a fabrication. Teams are just now getting to $30 million a year. Like last year, I think Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, for their entire roster. People were saying 4 years ago, A&M did it with one recruiting class. It was the dumbest SH blibbity bleep I've ever heard. But what they did in that class, in hindsight, was they reached on kids that were really good players that had some red flags. And they did it too much, and I think it ultimately... And then the other issue, and people asked it at the time, raise your hand if you asked it, but the other issue was they overloaded so much at one position, at D-line. So there was no way they were all going to be able to finish and contribute there. So probably those were 2 issues, not the spending. They spent in baseball. You have other teams that have spent in football. Ole Miss, that didn't get it done this year.
Right.
Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. They lost to a bad Florida team, and they lost to a solid, not spectacular LSU team. And it was a big disappointment for how much they spent, but they're back on the saddle and they're doing it again. My concern here is A&M, like the staying power, like emotionally with it. Like, it's different. Like, you just asked so many of your top donors, like the top of the top, right before all this started, hey, can we do 250 million in facilities? So some of those very, 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 very top guys were like 20 million, 25 million, 15 million. They're like, oh, now we need NIL. Well, what's that? It's a new thing. We need million. So it was weird timing.
Timing, yeah.
The good news is facilities, other than probably the locker room, are top notch, peak. I don't know what they were doing when they built out the thing with where the locker room's at compared to the rest of the facilities in there. But basketball's in an interesting place, right? Because Bucky McMillan needs a lot right now because he needs a lot of players. And you see a guy like Toppin at $4 million. Now, there's hopefully 2.7 to 3 million that's going to be coming from athletics in the revenue share.
Yeah.
But everyone's getting that. So the baseline for everyone's just rising up. But to buy players right now, there's a lot of guys that are getting a lot more money than they're worth because everyone's trying to get the deals done before that July 1st.
Yep.
You're trying to pay guys before that in full. Football programs have a real weird issue on their hands now. Do they pay an entire roster worth of money up front? And those guys have everything, and then they have the portal ability?
Yeah.
It's a dangerous, dangerous game. But if you offer if a guy's going to make $1.5 million, and then they start going, no, that's not legitimate over 600. That's not. It's hard to get there if you're trying to get them to what you promised. So this is a dicey situation across college sports with this July 1st date and everyone trying to front load the contract.
Yep.
It's dangerous if you don't, in terms of paying it off and living up to promises. You probably have to redo deals if you're being honest, and then guys are going to go, well, no, I'm out.
Yeah.
So then the only alternative is to pay up front.
And then they can leave.
And then you're at the mercy of, guys not working with the first team for a week in fall camp. So college sports is absolutely, positively screwed. The college athletics is screwed. You cannot sit here and convince me otherwise. It is such a mess, they won't be able to fix it. But for right now, that's college sports problem. That's not A&M's. It is A&M's problem, but their job is to find the solution for Texas A&M. So with Bucky and basketball, I'm like, yeah, you got a guy that Baylor paid $1 million to, agreed to a deal, signed it, and now he's at BYU, and it's $3.5 million for a good player, not a All-American.
Right.
$3.5 million, topping $4 million. Like, I think whatever A&M paid Wade Taylor for this past season, they would have to pay twice that to get Zurich Phelps this year.
Right.
Think about it like that. Nothing against Zurich, but like Wade was a three-time first-team All-SEC record. And if you'd been getting Zurich out of the portal, he would have cost twice as much as you paid Wade to come back his senior year.
Yeah.
So A&M with 3.7 that they had last year or whatever, that can probably get you 2, maybe 2.5 SEC starters. And you need 5 of them, and you need a roster. So if you're on the, and we're rambling here, but this is interesting stuff to me, and I think other people might find it interesting as well. You're thinking about the position that he walked into, and you're going, is the mindset of the people that can make this happen, is it a really high number this year, and what does that guarantee? Because you're still scrambling with what's kind of still out there, and it's not necessarily the scraps, but you're having to be real creative, and it's not like it's going to be. So if these people go, no, let's just wait till next year and really go all in, then my question is, what happens if they're like Missouri under Gates when they were 0-18 in the conference, or what if they're 3-15 or 5-13? A year from now, where is that mentality of, hey, we're gonna go in next year?
Right.
Are you still that interested after a, like Mizzou went? I'm not saying A&M will. I don't think they will, but Mizzou went 0-18. But like, if you're 5-13, if you're 6-12, like, is the interest level still there to say, yeah, we're ready to go all in? And even if you do that, there will be guys that they find in this portal that will be coming back and be key parts of that second-year jump.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get them, then it makes making that second-year jump that much harder. And by the way, those guys will actually save you some money the next season because you have loyalty and guys within the program that are coming back. That's always cheaper than going out and getting them. So these sports are in a precarious spot in a lot of ways. And it's also why for football, it's like you need to see the pressure's on every coach. You look at Elko and he's like, I got to make a jump in year 2 because I've got to keep momentum going on the NIL side.
Right.
Fan momentum's great, and it comes with the wins and losses, but it's that beneath the surface on the NIL side. But again, I'm telling you, a lot of these teams that are at the very, very top of it, and this Cody Campbell stuff really stood out this week. They have a big dog at the top, and I actually met Cody last Super Bowl, like a year and a half ago, and we were talking NIL football. A&M was slightly ahead of Tech, and the conversation we had at the time was he was like, we're in a position where in the Big 12 we can function and win at a really high level at this level of NIL. And I can tell you right now in my head what I think of the number he told me versus what I believe they're at today. When last February he said we're at a comfortable spot for us in this conference where we can be at the top of it, I bet their NIL has multiplied by 5 for football. It's 5x what it was then when he felt like that was good. I had another, you were sitting in here, a Power 5, Power 4, big name head coach called me, no ties to A&M when we were sitting here.
I remember.
And this is a flip side of this for those that wonder. He wanted to connect me to connect him with the people here on the NIL side. He had a new guy and was saying, hey, we know A&M does some really good creative stuff, and we're trying to get some ideas. We don't recruit against y'all if y'all don't mind us.
Picking
I
your
said,
brain,
I can connect those guys. Y'all, they can, I don't know how the inner workings, they do, connect them and see. But my point is, it's not all doom and gloom, and I'm not trying to preach that. I'm just saying we're in a weird spot with this house settlement, with revenue share, with the July 1st date, with a first-year coach in basketball, a coach in the middle of his first year in baseball, and a second-year coach in football. It's every win matters a great deal because momentum within your own fan base, especially at the top, matters now more than it ever has.
We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Keeping water local now. It's not just any water. I'm talking about water in the Brazos and the Robertson County. It's something that comes out of your tap. It's much more than that as well, though. Right now, out-of-state interests are eyeing our water, threatening our community's future. That's why I want you to consider keepwaterlocal.org. It's a great group of neighbors fighting to protect what matters most. And if you care about this community, it's not just about the water. It's about preserving the farms, the businesses, and the Aggie spirit that makes this place so special. So losing control of our water means losing our future. If you want to make a difference, what you need to do right now is head out to keepwaterlocal.org, get involved, and keep water right here where it belongs, local, with keepwaterlocal.org. I would wear the J Balvin Jordans. I would.
They're not. Those are not made for people
like me. Hip,
unhip, nearing 50. I wouldn't wear them.
But there are Jordans that we can wear, right?
Yes.
Because I wear them almost daily on the show.
Yes, there are.
But not the J Balvins.
Richard Zane and I have the same pair of Jordans. He showed them to me and said, "I'm going to order these. Do you want them?" And I said, "Sure." So he ordered them. I Venmo'd them, and he's on the drops or whatever. Yeah. The difference between his and mine, mine are like some kind of combination. Well, I have multiple pairs, but this is like the typical kind for me. It's like white, black with like a dark brown like heel, almost like a suede dark brown heel, and normal. And Richard puts, as Dan Campbell called him when I showed Zane dancing in a gritty, and he didn't know I filmed him and Allie doing it, and I sent it to Dan. I think Dan meant to say zesty, but he said flashy. Zane had flashy, bright pink shoelaces on the exact same shoe. I don't do the bright pink shoelaces.
Neither do I. Yeah.
So therefore, I'm just like, it's a kind of a basic non-shoe. You slap some pink shoelaces on it.
It changes the whole thing.
And you get a little flashy.
It changes your personality.
You get a little flashy, as Dan said. And you wearing those J Balvins. Oh, J Balvin makes great music. You do that, and just try it. Try it. I dare you.
Can I wear these?
I beg you to come in here in those J Balvins.
Can I wear the Bad Bunny Adidas? Okay.
I do actually. Yeah, okay. I think those are.
All right, just making sure.
I think those are a little flashy, but like they're stylish to me. I know those other ones you showed me are stylish, but they're stylish for
a certain age.
Him.
Yeah.
Like under 33.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Okay. But those are like, oh damn, like young people would see those shoes, you'd have them on, they'd be like, those are sick.
Can someone my age wear Yeezys?
Sure, man. Dan Mullen does.
Okay, just making sure.
It was the coloring, it was the...
I don't care what age you are. Sunglasses indoors, never acceptable.
I do it.
Well, I would make fun.
I don't typically do it. I do it, there's one common denominator.
The club?
Well, I'm not going to go put sunglasses on because I'm in a club. Here's what happens. I think you could have caught me sunglasses on at night in indoors.
Good song.
In Nashville. Yeah.
That was a good song.
Corey Hart.
Yeah.
Never Surrenders is his best song. Sunglasses at 92nd. But you would catch me indoors in Nashville with sunglasses because we were at the SEC tournament and they were giving away these Gatorade sunglasses that were actually cut with a little SEC logo, and
they were kind of cool.
And they were in, we stuck it in. So, like when you're out all day,
that's different. I
at a concert or at sporting event or whatever, and you have sunglasses, and then you go straight to the bar or club, and then you're having some drinks. And then you see somebody else, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I got my shades on.
Yeah, that's different.
That's about the only time.
You can never, and I know some people here have done it, I am a believer you never wear sunglasses during a stand-up for a video. If you're doing like a report, don't wear sunglasses.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's the old school in me. I'm like Olin, I'm old school journalist. Hey, we just wasted a segment, which is fun. Let's hit a break here so we can stay on the break.
Overtime.
We'll do the overtime, okay? We'll come back. I got a Marcel Reed question for you on the other side.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Aggie offense.
All right, we'll talk about that. We'll get to your text messages, maybe. 979-693-1150 is TexAgs Live. Whoever's listening at Brian Broadcasting, running the ones and twos, if you will, got a little Bad Bunny there in the background. Look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to tell the folks on the Zone listening that we'll probably get into a topic that will get cut off here in a moment, but we'll continue on TexAgs.com thanks to our overtime show. But I do want to recommend that you still listen to Louis Bellina. He's my friend, he's my colleague, and he's Billy's boss. All right, Billy. Football.
Yeah.
Shall we start the topic or shall we ramble for the next 3 minutes?
You can start the topic.
So I had Marcel here at the end of last week.
Yes.
Really enjoyed my conversation. Every time we talk to him, he's great. It is, I think noticeable is the right word. He's talked about his added weight, but I've seen it. Like, you can see that he's put on some strength. You've been at practice. Mm-hmm. How does that weight look from the pocket? Is there something that he's not being hit? But
it's hard. But
is he moving the same way? Does he look the same way?
Yeah, he's moving the same. He's still cat quick. The agility's there. You can see him. When there is a quick rush, he recognizes it, makes that quick step, and gets out of there. He's quicker than most quarterbacks that are going to be playing college football this year, and and that's still, he's going to be fast as hell, quick as hell. He's going to be a huge part, I believe, of the run game this year. When you have, Moss and Owens and the other guys, like, I think and I say the other guys, I wrote a lot. These freshman running backs, man, I think they really hit on Tiger Ryden and Jamarian Morrow. Morrow's just, he jumps out at you. Just the movement, the quickness, the burst, the explosion. And people have been saying that since as soon as they got here and we're doing off-season work. And then Tiger Ryden, I keep saying, he almost runs like Leonard Fournette. And I'm not saying he's going to run guys over. I'm not saying he won't. I mean, he's going to be a pretty good-sized back. But Fournette, that power was like unlike most you see. He's running over people like Bo Jackson did, minus the speed. I mean, I'm not saying that. Just the way he runs, the body lean, and the kind of the cuts and the getting downhill, and the size, that reminds me. He doesn't have that power to just like detonate guys trying to tackle him. I mean, very few did. So I'm not but just the style of running, what the movements and what the body looks like when he's running. So I'm excited about those two. And Morrow, I think you're going to see him this year play. Going back to Marcel, my thing with Marcel is I'm not holding him to a standard, but like there's a ceiling of Marcel that is, like, I think he's one of the biggest X factors in the SEC this year. Because there's this ceiling, or this year one as a starter to year two jump, year two in Colin Klein jump, some weapons around him at for pass catchers now, that he could make where Texas A&M becomes a surprise team. There's also the area where, hey, I'm watching to see, is the improvement there down the field, finding those open guys, not missing them, and finding them quickly. Because without that improvement, A&M's going to have issues, because I think they need Marcel to make that jump. Does that make sense?
It does.
He makes that jump, they could be a surprise team. If he doesn't, I think these preseason over-unders are going to be pretty accurate.
TexAgs Overtime on TexAgs.com. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We will catch up with you guys on that or on Monday. It's TexAgs.